done with our media availability for Nebraska week. It's been an interesting week. Back when they were conference rivals, I didn't cover this program in 2001. I started in 2003. And yeah, there was hatred between these two programs before they left to go to separate conferences. But this week, because of what happened in Lincoln last year, it seems like it's been amped up quite a great deal.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. I mean, it seems like John Van Diest was asked about this the other day if he feels like that win kind of sparked all this. And he said, yeah, probably, because we weren't supposed to go in there and win. I don't think that made him very happy. And it's been interesting to hear some of the chirping coming from Nebraska, because Scott Frost has even been in on it, and I mean they're not holding back as far as. Well, maybe they are holding back a little bit, but they're allowing that to happen. And Scott Frost is giving a couple digs to CU, and I mean they're coming all out and just saying, hey, we don't like these guys. And JoJo Doman's saying Steven Montez doesn't like to, or he's afraid of contact and things like that. So just little comments like that are interesting. And CU the whole week has just been like, hey, whatever, we're going to play.
I don't know, is the business like approach going to benefit CU, or there's so much animosity from the Nebraska side leading up to this game? Could that backfire on them, you think?
Yeah, I think so. That's what's interesting in sports, is that for some teams that might really amp them up and get them ready to go. For other teams, maybe they get too involved with that and it leads to a bad start and they're not able to back it up. So I think that's going to be one of the interesting things, especially in the first quarter, to see what happens, because first quarter was kind of what ultimately dictated this game last year. I mean, I know it kind of went back and forth, but that first quarter was disastrous for Nebraska and really set up CU for that win.
Watching Nebraska play South Alabama, you had to be underwhelmed. Adrian Martinez, who you expect to be really, really good, and he was at times last year, just looked out of sync. Apparently he didn't have a very good week of practice leading up to that season opener. Yeah. I expect to see a much different Adrian Martinez, and at the top of my list of concerns for this football game is his legs, more so than maybe even his arm.
Yeah, especially after watching the CU defense last week and how CSU kind of killed them on the perimeter earlier in the game. Nebraska's going to be better on the perimeter, I would imagine, especially if you get Martinez going. So I think that's a concern, and I would not expect to see the same Martinez that we saw last week against South Alabama. I think he's probably going to be closer to what we saw last year in Lincoln.
Nebraska's defense, opportunistic, kind of like CU's was in their season opener. It's going to be obviously a better unit than what they faced against CSU. I felt that CU was trying to be pretty vanilla in that first game. Yeah, they had to, a few times there kind of involve Laviska a little bit more creatively, but I think CU's got a few tricks up their sleeves in this game.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the opportunities that Nebraska got last week were, they're playing a team that's not very good. South Alabama made mistakes that I don't think CU is going to make. You hope they don't make. But I would imagine they're playing a more polished offense this week than they played last week against South Alabama. So that's going to be interesting to see, how that matchup goes and what CU does offensively. Because they kind of just played it, straight up. And Laviska, that's going to be an interesting thing to watch all year, because we were so used to him getting so many touches every game. And he had 6 touches, which is probably about half as many as I'd like to see him get every week. So I'm curious to see what that's going to look like.
Quite a few Colorado kids on Nebraska's roster. You mentioned Doman. Jack Stoll, their talented tight end, is from Colorado. Tate Wildeman, who didn't really get recruited very hard by the McIntyre staff. That kind of adds an interesting element to this game, too.
Yeah, for sure. Eli Sullivan, who went to high school, walk-on from Longmont High School, but he got in the game, made a couple of big plays last week. So, yeah, there's some Colorado guys, and Doman's been one of the guys that's been talking a lot this week. Jack Stoll's a guy that I if I'm CU, I'm worried about him on defense, because he had a couple of big catches last week, and CU gave us some things at the tight end last week. So I'd be worried about Stoll a little bit, but that certainly adds to it, and those guys are going to try to have as many of their fans as they can in here. 7 Colorado kids, I believe, on that roster, and if they get 10 tickets each, that's 70 people right there.
You mentioned the tickets. CU is not happy with the ticket situation out in Lincoln a year ago. A couple small, kind of sequestered CU sections. So they tried their best to keep, what do they say, keep the red out for this game. There's still, we were talking about it before interviews today, I'd guess, I think 15,000 is probably a pretty good number for how many Nebraska fans are going to be in the building. What do you think?
Yeah, we were kind of talking about what would the over-under be, and I'd probably put it around 15,000. as much as Rick George and CU wants to keep the red out, they're not going to be able to. I mean, there's going to be a lot of Nebraska fans in these stands. Maybe not quite like it was in years past, but there's going to be a lot here. And we were talking about the dynamic. They're urging CU fans not to sell your tickets to Nebraska fans, but man, when you see how much those tickets are going for, how enticing would that be if you're a CU fan to have season tickets and say, you know what, I could pay for the rest of the year just by selling this game. Not trying to encourage anybody to do that, but we're just talking about, like, there's got to be some fans that are doing that, and the red might be scattered, but I think there's going to be quite a few. Nebraska
fans are really nice in person. Had a great experience covering that game out in Lincoln last year. On social media, they are brutal, and I love this week because, again, I've talked about the fact that CU doesn't have a true rival in the Pac-12. This is fun.
Yeah.
But man, my notifications, every time I tweet something out this week, it's annoying. They need to take some advice from Taylor Swift and just calm down.
Right. Yeah. Certainly didn't expect Taylor Swift to come up in this video, but yeah, it's amazing the difference in Nebraska fans in person and on social media. But yeah, it just. Classless, I guess, is the word I can think of, but things like, referencing Sal and Essie again and things like that. Like, I don't like seeing stuff like that, and certainly, I mean, we've heard things. Jacob Callier with the play last year, and I mean, he's had threats, a lot of threats from Nebraska fans over the last year. May not really even play that much, if at all, this week. So, but they're certainly all over that stuff, and kind of forgetting the fact that Martinez was hurt 2 plays before that. But yeah, it's interesting to see. There's a lot of hatred on social media from that Nebraska side.
Before the CU-CSU game, during the lightning delay, I told a couple people, I need to see CU win this game by at least 3 touchdowns for me to consider picking them to upset Nebraska. They go out and they win by 21. So I've kind of gone back and forth on this game this week. I'll get your prediction and then I'll throw mine out there.
So did John Van Diest kind of hear that and say, you know what, here's your 3rd touchdown?
Maybe.
So I got to go first here, huh? So we've I told you I've really been back and forth on this game all year. I mean, all off season, really up until this morning, and I kind of slept on it last night. I woke up this morning and said, you know what, I've got a definitive answer on this game. And last year I picked Nebraska in a very close game and kind of gave them the edge because they were in Lincoln, and I was really impressed with the way CU went out there and their mental toughness in that game. And winning that game. I think this CU team is more mentally tough than last year. I'm not sure Nebraska is that much better than they were last year. I think CU wins this football game. If I'm going to give Nebraska the edge last year for being at home, I'm going to give it to CU this year for being home. I think they win this game. I'm going to go 30-27.
All right. Adrian Martinez, like I said, I think his legs are going to be a problem in this game. I think they're going to be able to put up some points. But they just didn't look good against a bad Sun Belt team at home last week. They're going to be better. CU's going to get a better Nebraska team here at Folsom Field on Saturday. But I think CU's going to have some more wrinkles, stuff they didn't show against the Rams. And I'm going to pick them to win, too. I'm going to say 35-34, a nail-biter type of game. Nebraska fans are going to come at us, call us homers. I'm prepared for it. My notifications have been a mess all week anyway.
Yeah, maybe I am, but hey, last year I picked Nebraska, so I just, woke up this morning, I got a good feeling about this. I think this CU team, we're going to see over time, but I just love the approach that Mel Tucker brings and just kind of the focus that I seem to be seeing from this team under Mel Tucker, kind of the no-nonsense, and I just think they're going to be focused and ready.
And hopefully, anybody's a knucklehead in Folsom Field on Saturday, they're spotted by security and they spend some time in the Boulder County Jail. I think that, because you don't want to see this escalate. There's a lot of animosity right now going on between these fan bases.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Rick George has urged fans to not get rid of their tickets. I'm not sure he can really prevent that. The one thing that hopefully fans listen to is his urging to be civil, because that's one thing, like you mentioned, Nebraska fans at least are civil in person. Maybe I'm sure somebody has examples of times that the Nebraska fan was not during a game. But for the most part, Nebraska fans are civil, and you hope that that's the case. And there's no extracurricular stuff in the stands this week.
All right, it should be a fun afternoon at Folsom Field. We'll be back with more analysis after the game.